Okay.
Yes. So this will be.
Is this me background there, Jackie? Or
I think so.
You're stepping in.
Yes. Go with the name tag. See it up right there.
Holy smokes.
Where are you? Good.
How are you doing?
It's good too. It was the nice mix of busy and nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
That's like yesterday. I just was like, not leaving this house. I'm done. It was great. Yeah.
Good.
There were some good Chinese food movies all
Yeah.
over the weekend.
I get booked out for cake. It's the same thing. There's the business and.
That's what mom said. She said, it's just the
Yeah.
same all.
I know.
And you know how they're gonna end.
And every single time.
Yeah. Yeah, a few tears here and there.
Poor Alex, I'm screaming at him because real life is not that.
No.
It's a holiday romance.
Morning, Lance. Good Thanksgiving.
They're in Michigan until middle of December. They go, used to go back for 2 months now. We have to go last week. I think I got some piece to go. It's one of those therapies. She loves that, yeah. She loves it, she's so proud of herself.
So it should be.
So I did it.
Okay.
But I don't think she can. It's just the call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You all here?
He's great.
Yeah.
You got some different services.
I'm sorry.
Okay, everybody's here. My watch says 9:33, so it's time here. We're going to call together the regular monthly business meeting for November 28, 2016 of the Public Transport Authority. And would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alrighty, we have actually a pretty short and to the point meeting this morning. First thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda. A motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
I have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as published. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. We have the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. And at this point, we come to public input and comments. It's a time set aside for members of the public to speak to the board about subjects of concern or interest or items not already set aside for public hearing. Questions presented may or may not be addressed by the board. If possible, we'll get a response to you afterwards. To ensure your comments record properly, please state your name clearly and your address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. And I'm going to start this off kind of odd because I had a request for a public comment from Lance prior to the meeting, so we're going to lead our public comments off from Lance.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to speak to the board primarily. The meeting of November 14th was canceled. And I understand in the list of meetings at the conclusion of these meeting notices, the word "may be canceled" was inserted there. I did not receive a phone call from anyone on this board informing me that the rest of you, or the majority, I would assume, had decided to cancel that meeting. I understand my limitations on this board. The only thing I have is a voice, but I also have, as long as I treat everyone else, and I try to do my utmost to treat everyone with respect, that I'm still a member of this board. And being a member of this board, it is the board's responsibility, primarily the chief, or the chair, I'm sorry, or the vice chair, or to have that person have a board member inform the labor representative that that meeting was canceled. I don't live around the corner. I live 125 miles away, and that's a pretty good trip. And I came out here, only to be informed then that the meeting had been canceled. I want to understand that it is not staff's responsibility to do this. It's the board. That's all I have to say. I'm sure it was an oversight, but I would hope that in the future, there isn't that oversight again. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Good. Thank you, Lance. Is there anybody else with public comment? Gail?
Gail Zacco Kirk. I haven't been in the loop for a little bit, but going back, I was wondering if you were going to have public comment today. I was a little put off when we were, for the 6-year transportation, when there was supposed to be public comment, and it was stated by the chair that it was public comment, and then there was additional public comment for each agenda item. There was an original public comment, I made it, said thank you about the bus stop across the street, and I was never allowed to make a public comment for any of the agenda items. I'm following up on that as well, because that's not part of the public participation plan, and so that's, we'll see more on that. I also haven't received feedback on a lot of the things that I've brought up at meetings, or sent in. I'll give a list of those in a little bit, but I know one of the things, and I'll get with Mike later about this, but I put in sent pictures in the horribly corroded safety latches on the back of the emergency escape window on a vehicle. There's a couple of unsafe buses out there on the road, and I believe it's all maintenance, that's preventative maintenance, it's not being upkept on it. And these red emergency handles were so corroded that they're pretty much powdery. And I'm doubting that window would come out, that you could even get those latches to move. I don't know very well what corrosion, can do on these aspects. A couple other things on that. When it comes to the budget, there's not one here to look at. The only thing I can remember off of those is I'd like to know more about, under all the different departments, about the security camera monitoring on each of them. I'd like to see what that is about. And why do we have Executive Director movement expenses on yet another budget? This is going to be the second year in a row that we've had Executive Director movement expenses on a budget. Why do we need an Executive Director movement expenses for 2017? That's all I have.
Chair, I'll comment.
Thank you, Gail.
And that the moving expenses were in the first draft, they are not in the current. So you're right, that was an oversight initially. That was removed.
Okay.
As far as the latches, again, appreciate you identifying those, and we have replaced those.
Thank you, Mike. Anybody else with public comment? Seeing as how no other public here, I'm going to close the public comment period. Is there any response from board members?
Yeah, I would like to make just a response to Lance, and I certainly apologize for that oversight, Lance, but I guess I don't know that it's the board's, just the board's responsibility. I guess I would also think that could be a staff and or board responsibility, but I do apologize that you were not aware that it was canceled.
I do appreciate your apology, and I accept it. I disagree with the fact that it would be staff's responsibility. This is a board decision, and I don't think anyone on this board couldn't be requested by the chair or the vice chair to do that notification. Since it's a board's decision, I would think it's a board's responsibility to inform any and all board members that weren't included in the discussion to closed. Thank you for your apology.
I guess I just feel like that kind of information, if I get from staff, I'm fine with that.
I also share Jackie's apology and agree that I get notifications about meetings, the time, the date, the location. That doesn't come from the board chair, it comes from staff, and I'm dependent upon that information going out. This board doesn't have dedicated staff, and so that communication happens at a different level. So again, I share the apology. I can certainly understand the frustration. If I got up early and didn't have to, boy, there'd be hell to pay somewhere. But I think putting the sole onus on the board is misplaced.
Yeah.
Just to note, I did welcome lines that morning, and I apologize because we, as a staff, had overlooked that and not followed.
Yes. It's unfortunate, and I'm sorry. I apologize as well. It was an oversight. You can be assured it's was not intentional. I'm assured of that, and we'll make sure that you're in the loop on all discussions.
Thank you all.
Okay. With that being said, you're aware this will be the last meeting until December 12th, correct? Next month's meeting is going to be rescheduled for December 12th. So we have that, and that's due to holidays. Okay, so it is time then to move on to our Executive Director's report.
So I've handed each of you a summary. I'll skip over the first item, which is the budget, which is an action item as well. So in the service review, I will say that we've received just under 400 survey responses regarding our service review, in addition to comments made at public meetings, operator input, and staff review. We've also engaged with the business community through the local chambers of commerce and asked for their inputs regarding changes to service delivery. We'll continue to take comments certainly through the end of this month and the next couple of weeks, and then plan to discuss the results of the survey next month at the December board meeting. This will lead into building modifications to our current routes and runs in December, with the goal of implementing change in late spring or summer timeframe following additional public engagement and coinciding with operator bidding shifts in the May time. This will also give us time to consider grant funding from WashDOT for the county as well.
Can I just ask a quick question on that? On these survey responses, do we have any way of tracking to know if the responses are duplicates? Because I know we take public comment, like for example, on our comp plan update, and we might get 400 comments, but they're all from the same person.
It's fair to note that one, you're right, there may be duplicates as well. It's a voluntary survey, so it's fair to note that the responses to the survey reflect those that are willing to participate in the survey, not necessarily a broad cross section of the community.
Okay, thanks.
Have you looked at any of the surveys?
We have at a very superficial level. We haven't summarized or looked at the results yet. As far as joint training efforts, we have coordinated a visit to Skagit Transit on December 13th with operations, finance, and maintenance to engage their respective counterparts. So that would be a good visit. In addition, our operations support, Lou Short, is also coordinating a January meeting with community, Everett, Skagit, and Washington Transit to discuss public relations and communication strategies in an effort to leverage or pick up best practices regarding transit promotion and public engagement. So I look forward to that as well. Washington State Auditor, the audit team arrived on site last week on November 21st, and we expect them to complete by December 8th. At the request of the audit team, they will interview one of the board members, and that will be Mr. Bruce Allen, following this board meeting. And then we'll do an informal debrief with Paul Aaron and myself this afternoon. You'll each receive the in-brief information via email from the audit team. And like I said, we expect that to wrap up December 8th. Labor negotiations, we conducted contract negotiations on November 18th. The next meeting will be a mediation meeting held with the Public Employee Retirement Commission mediator, Mr. Andrew Luke, next scheduled for December 15th. There is a second session scheduled for January 4th. On vehicle acquisitions, I know we approved the acquisitions earlier, just want to give you an update. The final specification for the first 4 new medium-duty buses was approved by WashDOT and by the Department of Enterprise Services, and the purchase order was submitted to Creative Bus Sales. I should expect over the next couple of weeks to get more detail on the delivery time for those vehicles. probably late in the early spring. An update, route match upgrade. We're testing with both the phone notification module, fixed and paratransit route continues with a test group of operators and paratransit clients. A number of things have been pushed back, and full implementation is expected right now, December 15th. We're pleased with the continued development of new capabilities. The route shout application and the website will be released to the public as we integrate the rest of these. Again, by the 15th of December, we'll have those available so that members of the public will be able to see the operations of the island transit buses. Oak Harbor Senior Center and Services. Oak Harbor expressed interest in Island Transit providing transportation service to the Oak Harbor Senior Service Center for various events in the Northwest. They have a travel program that travels for events such as Mariner Games, concerts, etc., typically to the Seattle area, roughly 10 to 12 times a year. Oak Harbor currently provides a bus for the Senior Service Center to use. However, they intend to retire that vehicle next year and not plan on replacing it. This is not a service Island Transit is able to provide. The Federal Transit Administration has specific regulations in place to protect charter services from unfair competition from transit agencies. The service request is considered charter service that supports a third party, the Senior Center, for exclusive use of a vehicle for transportation to a regular event, in particular because it's not a route currently served. So in general, charter service is prohibited activity for transit agencies unless no charter agency is willing to provide that service and WAFTA approves use of the transit for charter service. I did provide a summary of 37 charter agencies that registered with the FTA to provide service in the Oak Harbor area, as well as the Senior Service Center into Oak Harbor. Even that list is not all inclusive. It does include companies such as BC Bank Shuttle, Bolt Bus, Airport Shuttle. So there's quite a few charter options available. The rest of them, no other updates to discuss. I'll talk about significant dates. Certainly we have the Washington State audits on board through December 8th. We also have the Washington State Transit Association fourth quarter board meeting in Bellingham tomorrow and Wednesday. I'll attend that. And then next, and certainly an open invitation to all the members of the board, is Island Transit's holiday party will be at the Oak Harbor American Legion on December 10th.
What time is that?
Do you remember what time we holiday party starts?
5:30. 5:30 social, dinner at 6:30. I can confirm.
So certainly love to see any of you that have time to attend it. Like I said, December 15th, we also have contract mediation with the union. There's a farmhouse game meeting on December 16th. And then just a couple of those on holidays. December 26th is the observed Christmas holiday. And January 2nd is the observed New Year's holiday. One other note, we have a schedule for next year's proposed board meeting. Just of note, the first meeting is January 27th. I know that requires certainly your election, your representation commission for your respective bodies. So just a planning factor for January 27th, and then there's have a notional schedule for the rest of the year. You'll note that we have workshops on there. Those are as needed. There's a couple of them that have been needed in particular. Any questions I have for you?
Makes the year look fast.
They are.
Thanks, a law that says it can't be closed for more than, I think it's 30 days. Does transit have restrictions like that where you, and I notice everybody is working the day after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Any board questions or comments?
I feel bad for people that have.
Yeah. Okay, if that's all, we're gonna move on to the finance manager's report.
Hey, good morning. So I'll take you through the financial report for October 2016. One second on this. Okay, to start with our October cash summary, and first of all, sources of cash. Big item again is sales tax revenue up. It's approximately 14% over what we budgeted for that month. And you can see on the chart once again that we're doing better than we anticipated. October sales tax exceeding the budget by $106,000. $859,000 or 10.36% ahead of budget for 2016 if the remaining 2 months of the year are what we budgeted, or 12.6% ahead of budget for the first 10 months of 2016. So overall, good news. It's our largest source of revenue, and it's above budget. Another item that is significant in this month's cash sources of cash is contract revenue reimbursements that we get from the state. It breaks down. It was a total of $350,000, but it breaks down in the categories of para formula, equalization formula, tri-county connector, and ever connector in those amounts. Uses of cash. About on target. Our average for the year so far is $881,000 a month, and we're at $875,000, so we're slightly below that for the month. And if we look at cash reserves, last month we approved putting additional monies into cash reserves, so that's how it would break out. It actually results in a shift slightly of operating cash being reduced by about $250,000. We also took the step of putting about $3.5 million into short-term investments, so that should improve our interest revenues. In terms of the graph, if we look at our cash reserves, it's still increasing, which is good, but you can also see that some of our funds, for example, the bus reserve or the operating reserve has increased while general cash has dropped slightly, the green has dropped slightly. If we look at budget actual our budget actual report, we can see some variances, but by and large, we're on target, except for capital grants, which is kind of like dragging our revenue side down because we haven't fulfilled those yet, where we're only at about 13% fulfilled. And the same is true on the expense side, where, of course, the capital grants not being fulfilled. Of course, it's the expense side is greater than the revenue side because we're paying a match on that. And then the only other area where we see significant under expenditure is tools and supplies, which includes fuel. It's only 52%.
Well, we also talked in the finance committee meeting about some of those types of expenditures happening closer to year end when the budget sorts itself out. And
yeah, some of the supplies, you're right, some of the operating supplies sometimes are fulfilled toward the end. I'm not absolutely sure why, but I can see an example for maybe purchasing your supply of tires right at the end. When you see that you haven't overspent on parts for buses, maybe you didn't have any breakdowns. So, but that's not my area of expertise. But that's how it seems to be coming through. Other important data, there's some ridership information. About a 4.6 decrease from the previous month, 7% decrease from the previous year. The breakouts in terms of gains and losses greater than 5%. Gains, we saw some gains on 412, but we saw some, seems like a lot of decreases on other routes, 1, 3, 6, 7, 10, 11, 411W, 58X, and 2C. So, not sure the reasoning behind that, but sometimes it's just a matter of decrease happens because the previous month increase. You know, you're just measuring against the previous month.
As I looked at some of these numbers, September we saw an increase in ridership, and October is just the other way around. It's actually an increase in ridership. So, same number of service days in both months. So uncertain what's driving the situation.
When you're looking at the data, is it actual, like when you're looking at October, is this actual October numbers, or is it rollover from September? Because all of October's information wasn't in yet, or this is actual calendar month?
Yeah, all this is actual. The only situation where we would roll something over, where we just don't have that data yet. So we would use the previous months, and those would be adjusted kind of after the fact, every month, like maybe a month lag on that information. But this information is actuals.
Do you track ridership and weather? I mean, the only reason I ask is if we don't make a huge investment in sheltered bus stops, and I wonder if there's a correlation between lower ridership and rain.
We don't track weather units. It's usually coming.
It might not even be as much,
No, but I do know that happens, because a lot of people in my office ride, but when it rains, they drive.
Makes sense.
That thing, yeah, that's what I was trying to figure. Why I was asking if it was actual monthly, because I was thinking, well, maybe it's tourist related or something, you know, that causes that, because you see more tourists, say, in August and September when school started.
I assume that we're similar here, but you know, the radio reporting was telling me for the month of October was 3 times the average.
Right.
So, that's the potential. Causes that estimate. We can see it for sure.
Then if we move on to fuel cost, not a lot of change there. A little bit of an increase from the previous months, but still lower than the previous years. So we're still in a little bit of a lull in terms of pricing on fuel. In terms of diesel, there's about a 3.5% increase from the previous month, and then leaded, just a small increase from the previous month. So that's kind of where we stand graphically, up slightly, but not significant yet. And with fuel prices, we're seeing the prices are going up, once again, just slightly. That's the end. Anybody has any questions?
There was a slide where you averaged out the cost per month. And so I guess my question was, is that based on actual expenditures per month, or an average out of all the, do you by 12 into how much you've spent, or is it like a look at each month?
Which numbers is it?
So go back, I think I wish, go back, so, right there. So you're talking about the percentages, that 83%, 0.33 in the bottom is where the goal is that what you're asking?
No, I think it was back another, it was a,
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. This one?
no, sorry. It was an average, so we were below average expenditure this month, slide.
Oh,
I should have just asked it.
right here.
And so my question there was, is that monthly average that we talk about based on averaging out the costs over the month, or just looking at each month and each month falls within a certain range and we're below that certain range for the month? Or?
The way I calculated it was I took the total of those 10 months and just divided by 10. So you're looking at just the average total cost in any particular month, or I should say, the average for those 10 months, and then weighing that against this individual month. So just kind of comparing what the cost is against the 10-month average.
And do you take out big expenditures, or you average those in?
I'm just looking at operating expenditures.
Okay. I didn't have a question, I just want to make sure I understood.
Anything else? Okay, well, thank you, Paul. And this is going to lead, since we're talking about expenses and revenues, lead us right into our item number 1 of our regular agenda, which is a discussion with possible action of resolution number 18-16, which is the Island Transit 2017 annual budget. Mike?
Okay, the proposed, you certainly have copies of the proposed budget at this point, but the proposed 2017 operating budget includes $11,298,604 of operating expenses, which is an increase of 3.4% over 2016's budgeted operating expenses. Further detail, basically budgeted operating revenues increased 4.7 to 12 million, basically 12.8 million. This factors in a decrease in expected operating revenues at the conclusion of the current contract with WashDOT for the Tri-County and other connectors, Bristol and Eugene. A decrease of $76,000 from the 2016 budgeted van pool revenues based on van pool ridership. Sales tax equalization and paratransit grants remaining at current levels, and then sales tax we're only anticipating will increase 2% above current year. So in the 2017 budget, sales tax comprises 73%. Sales tax equalization and paratransit grants comprise about 8.2%. Van pool is 3.7%, with Tri-County, Everett, and other minor revenues comprising the remainder of revenues. Budget operating expenses increased 3.4% to $11.3 million, as I previously discussed. The most significant expense categories are wages and benefits, comprising 72% of expenses. Wages and benefits increased 7.4% as a result of implementation of a non-represented salary compensation study and a proposed wage increase for represented employees. Other notable changes in the budget include 18.2% increase in insurance costs, and assumption fuel will reach $3.50 a gallon. An increase in licensing fees of approximately $59,000 with route match and other software and hardware license requirements that were not previously included in the budget. An increase of $24,000 in training and $300,000 transferred to operating reserves. The information systems budget is lean with no capital purchases other than 7 laptops. However, $30,000 has been allocated to information systems professional services for a contract consultant to evaluate IT systems and a long-term plan that will help establish appropriate funding levels and priorities for 2018 and beyond. Recapitalizing rolling stock remains a priority. Planned acquisitions include 13 medium-duty buses, 5 light-duty buses, 2 van pool vans, and completing other grants to improve radio communications, improve vehicular access through secondary access and rebuild engines for existing buses. While recapitalizing rolling stock is a priority, saving for future acquisitions is equally important, and all of our reserve balances will increase with this budget. This also reflects our uncertainty regarding sales tax with 3 capital projects that we previously discussed on with the item. So bus reserves will increase to just under 2.5 million. Van pool reserves increase to 464,000. Support vehicles to 227,000. Facility and other capital to 100,000, and operating reserves to 1.8 million. And that will be at the conclusion of the 2017 budget. As discussed, this budget does not address operating our county connectors past June of 2017. We have an outstanding grant request with WashDOT and expect a response in the spring, April, May timeframe. This, coupled with our ongoing service review, will allow us to make fiscally appropriate decisions for continuation of county connector services and may require a mid-year budget adjustment to reflect grant realities as I see those. At this point, I'd recommend adopting the 2017 annual transit operating budget. Any questions?
Any questions from the board?
Is this a public hearing?
No, we held the public hearing. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, yes, we already held the public hearing on budget, and this is the final. We're looking at possibly adoption if I get a motion to do so. I just have a question just with the budget showing 2.5 million. That is ending 2015, so that 2.5 million includes or is after the purchase of the buses that we're getting this year, so that's a healthy balance, I would think. Okay.
I would move approval of resolution 18-16 for the Island Transit 2017 annual.
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 18-16, establishing 2017 annual budget for Island County Public Transportation Benefit Area. Is there any further discussion, question?
I have just a comment that I think that the budget is good in that it recognizes temporary revenue streams that are based on sales tax increase from known construction projects in the area, and then also lower fuel prices. And so we're looking at putting that kind of temporary or artificial increase into savings or one-time expenses versus building that into operating, which I think is wise because we know that money is not going to be there forever. It's kind of a one-time savings. And so I think that that reflected wise decision-making in the recommendations that came forward. And then also just the fact that our budget is so heavy on wages and benefits, I think is important for people to understand that this is a service-driven industry, and the quality of Island Transit services comes down to the quality of the people. And so I think it's proportionately reflected in what it is that we do. And so I think that just calling that out is significant, that this is an organization that runs on people. And it's good to see that reflected in the budget.
Agreed. Yes, well, wages and capital as far as the assets in buses. And so this is making a prudent reserve so that we can continue to maintain good quality vehicles as well as good quality drivers. Any other comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment, but I appreciate Paul's effort in this thing because it's gone very, very smoothly this year as compared to previous years. And it's because of his effort to do that.
Also appreciated you might come around and just meeting with me and just going over it, and I appreciate that a lot.
Okay, period comments are over. So with that, I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 18-16, which is the 2017 annual budget for Island County Public Transportation Benefit Area. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you all very much for the hard work on this. It's nicely done. Anything?
I just wanted to make it turn the lights back up.
Oh, yeah, probably a good idea.
Thank you.
I like it. I like the
You like it?
lighting.
Okay.
Makes it smooth in here.
Not sure that's what we were going for.
Item number 2, we are going to discuss the 412 route and possible adjustment to service.
So to start discussion, we looked at recommending possible actions. At this point, we're not ready to do that. So what I will share with you is we started the Monday before Thanksgiving with a notice to all of our riders and also on the website, social media, etc. that on what we were looking at as proposed changes to the schedule. We're interested in proposing changes to 412 first because we've been running it for about 6 months now. And in September, October, and through November, we've seen very little growth. A little bit of growth in November, but still we're talking about peak ridership about 8 to 9 per month. So certainly the historical reflection that we saw from that in the past, and also from survey response we got as we set the time through this. So we went out and proposed 3 different schedules, and then asked the question: are there other times that aren't in these 3 schedules that riders would probably have us look at? And I'll summarize some of the input that we've got. As of just before Thanksgiving, we've got about 24 public responses. Majority of those came from the riders currently riding the service. We did receive a few from folks that are not riding the service, but would if times have changed. Service times have changed. In summary, respondents expressed varying schedule needs, but some common themes were an earlier departure in the morning that got them to Everett to either make connections or get them to work earlier for Stonehenge County, etc. businesses in Everett. And then some folks kind of concerned that Island Transit's ability to meet all the community needs with only 4 runs per day. We saw that reflected in a couple different fashions. Is 4 runs sufficient? And then also, adding, where we didn't see that specific comment, we saw people ask for additional runs in the middle of the day. As we look at it, what I'd like to do is we'll come back to you on the 12th with recommendations on how we'll adjust the schedule. Some of the input we got was good, and that we had come up with 3 schedules that all proposed earlier departures to kind of accommodate what we had looked at in the staff and some feedback from operators on how to make better connections with sound transit, community transit, light rail, and everything. As we looked at that, the one thing we probably didn't look at very well was how folks get to Terry's Corner. And some of the feedback that we got was, for example, a 5:20 a.m. departure from Terry's Corner. A number of comments responded that it wouldn't work because none of our other existing routes, the 1 east and 2 west on Camino, operate that early to get people to Terry's Corner. So you either have to get to Terry's Corner on your own, or find it just doesn't work for you. So we're going to look at some of what are other options, and do we maybe make some fine adjustments to our early run to see if we can make that connection, not necessarily 5:20, but we'll look at those options and see if that works. I also, this morning, got a call from, he's a student, but he's part of the sustainability initiative at Everett Community College. And Everett Community College has expressed interest through their Director of College Services, who's Pat Cisnero, potentially buying 50 passes, roughly about 50 passes a quarter. Now, they expressed interest in, so college students, the reason that 2 things that he said that they're not riding the bus currently is one, typically they're only riding it Monday through Thursday. A lot of the college students don't have class on Friday. So it's a 4-day work week for them, and as they've run the math, many of them, you look at that 4 days a week, if there's 20 operating days in a month, there's 16, they'd rather pay the fare because they come out ahead instead of paying $80 because they're only going to use it 4 days a week. The other one that's probably just as impactful is the schedule probably doesn't support any of the college students, in that the earliest or the latest arrival in the morning departs 7:30 from Terry's Corner, and then the earliest departure from Everett Station doesn't leave until 4:30. So that that length of gap between service, most of the students are there from 8 to 1 p.m. 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. So they're going to try and give us some data or some feedback on what would be the ideal time for them. We've already kind of factored into some of the proposals we have, but we'll look at that, and then I'll come back on the 12th with some recommendations on some options to change the schedule for the 412, and also make some options to look at as far as the fare and the pass. If we want to try and attract those college students, or offer an incentive for folks to buy the pass, look at the investment on a wholesale scale.
Well, I would think for other people, just for business, I mean, you have a doctor's appointment or something, you don't want to be down there the whole day, so you might go in the morning, come back at noon, or go at noon, come back. So there's other reasons people would be going there.
Yeah, so there are a couple of things that we're kind of using as constraints up front is, what we don't want to do is, we can certainly go all in and go kind of back to the schedule that we had in the past, which was kind of 8 runs throughout the day. Physically, we can't do that, because one, we don't have the grant support to do that. So if we were to add additional runs in there, we need to recognize that we're going to add those at Island Transit's cost. And then past June, depending on the outcome of that grant request for washout, what I'd hate to do is add service and in June say, well, we're going to have to take it back. So we want to make sure that whatever we do, we can support both now and continue to support that. And then as you balance that, looking at those 4 runs, what's an ideal spread that balances the needs of commuters, access for students, access to business, human services, government services, etc. So that's kind of what we're struggling with.
Can you modify those passes to a student pass that's, for 20 hours instead of 30, whatever it is you're doing? So they're not paying more to ride the bus then? I mean, just.
I think those are all options, and we'll look at
Yeah.
that. I mean, because we print the passes ourselves here, so there's nothing that stops us from creating something specific for Everett Transit. We're going to do with Everett Community College.
Does the size of the bus we use have a significant impact on cost or no?
To some degree, yes. And so we have also discussed that. And to the point of what I'd like to do is propose changes to the schedule first, see what that does to ridership over a month or so, and then look at resizing the buses. The reason we have resisted changing the buses right now is the only 5 buses we have equipped with fare equipment right now are our heavy-duty buses, so we have to install that in other buses. Yeah, I mean, we've even had the discussions of, age or peak, what's the appropriate size bus, and, we even had considerations of a 15-passenger van. There's some limitations, we can't use van programs, because that's not we're prohibited from using for fare service or only by wash out. But, those are the considerations we're having, so I'd like to change the schedule first, and then look at right-sizing the buses, the ridership, either, trains in an upward direction or seasons.
I was just asking if there was enough cost savings, if the decision got to the point where we want to go routes, is we downsize
Yeah,
the budget.
unfortunately, there's not enough of a difference between, light, medium, and heavy duty to say that I could lay on extra runs.
Yeah.
Because again, most of the expenses are really labor expenses.
That's what it is.
All right. Any further questions, comments? Okay, so we're looking at seeing this again on the 12th. And the last item on our regular agenda is a discussion regarding Flintstone Park Crest Road.